The book of Hebrews doesn't mention the writer, but it is commonly ascribed to Paul. The theme of the book is the absolute supremacy and sufficiency of Jesus Christ as the mediator of God's grace. Our lesson is from chapter 11. Chapter 11 is spent giving example after example of people of faith, but before it talks about the people of faith, it defines faith for these new converts. Let's talk a little bit. We have 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. With our eyes, ears, skin, nose, tongue, we become aware of the world around us. These senses are limited when it comes to spiritual matters. Although we can touch the evidence of creation all around us, our senses do not tell us that God made everything. Paul tells us faith is that connection that ties what we can see with the truth about what we cannot see. Faith is the belief so compelling that we are assured that our hopes are really happening, even though our senses do not support that belief. Faith is our conviction, our rationale, our proof that things which we cannot see are really there for us. And it is our faith that links the world we see to the God we cannot see with our eyes. Our faith brings us in a relationship with God by which we are approved. Looking at the list that Paul lays out in chapter 11, these people gained approval with God not because of their righteous character or their good deeds, but because of their faith. Remember, Paul is writing to those who come from the Jewish tradition, so they're aware of these noted figures in Jewish history. He speaks of Abel, noting that while dead for about 6,000 years at that time, he is still speaking even now about his faith very clearly. He speaks of Enoch, who walked faithfully with God for 365 years and was spared death because of his faith. Paul also includes flawed people of faith, and yet their faith allowed them to be instruments of God. He writes of a guy who built and sailed an ark while the world called him crazy, but who also got drunk and passed out naked in his tent. A guy who took his own time obeying God and regularly lied to save his own hide, but walked out on faith to father the 3 houses of faith that are major to the world today. His wife, who laughed in ridicule when God told her he was going to give her a child, Paul talks about her. The list includes their grandson, who was known for being deceptive and slippery with the truth. The list include a man who was a murderer, a woman who was a prostitute, and even those who committed adultery. Yet this almost rogues gallery gained approval by God by their faith. Paul notes that Abraham and Sarah died long before Canaan was given to the Jews, and their descendants became innumerable. But they walked out on faith and never returned to the land they left because they believed the promise of God. Abraham and Sarah demonstrate to modern Christians that having faith means that you are sure of it. You are convinced of it. Even if you don't have it in your hands right now, it is just as real as if you did. While we see the world and the planets, it is our faith that lets us know that God spoke and made them. The omnipotent God took nothing and made everything that we see, and the light that we see it with, and the eyes that we use to see it. Paul is speaking to modern Christians always looking for scientific explanations for events, saying, let faith connect what you can see with what you cannot see. Every day there comes a point in which my five senses become useless. It goes dark, and without faith, I have nothing. No hope, just fear. But when we let our faith connect the seen with the unseen, we create a relationship, a submission to God, an acceptance of our reliance based upon the hope that comes only through faith. That's the lesson for this week. Have a great week. Bye.